Today I am doing numeracy. In numeracy, I am doing two-step word problems. In question 1, I had to complete these algorithms and find the answer to them. Here, I have to add the amounts up, 53 and 46. 3 plus 6 equals 9. I know this because I worked the answer out in my head. Because I used my fact families. Fact families are 3 numbers that always go together. For example, 3 plus 6 equals 9, and 9 minus 6 equals 3. And in the tens column, 5 tens plus 4 tens equals 9 tens, because I used my fingers to help me count. 53 plus 46 equals 99. That is step 1. Now we move on to step 2. So 99 minus 78. 9 minus 8 equals 1. And I know this because I remember from what I have learned that the difference between 9 minus 8 is 1. And 9 minus 7 equals 2, and I also know this from what I have learned that the difference between 9 minus 7 is 2. So in step 2, 99 minus 78 equals 21. There are 21 snowballs left. First I need to start with step 1. I am going to add the 2 amounts, 12 and 17. I do not have enough space on the number line, so I am going to write an equation. 7 plus 2 equals 9. I know this because I worked the answer out in my head. 7, 8, 9. And now I'm going to move on to the tens column. 1 plus 1 equals 2. And I know the answer because I have already learned from what I have learned in the past. 1 plus 1 equals 2. And now we are going to move on to step 2. So 29 minus 20. I know that I have to subtract because it says his friends ate 20 of them. Them is the sandwiches and wraps. So 9 minus 0 equals 9. I know this from what I have learned in the past. And 2 minus 2 equals 0. And I know this, and I also know this from what I have learned in the past. So, if a number equals 0, like 2 minus 2, then I do not need to write anything in the tens column. So 29 minus 20 equals 9. So 9 sandwiches and wraps are left. For question 3, I had to write the algorithms and find the answer. First, I started with step 1. "15 plus 13. 5 plus 3 equals 8, and I know this because I worked the answer out in my head. 5, 6, 7, 8. And then I am going to move on to the ones column. 1 plus 1 equals 2. I know this because I know this from what I have learned in the past. 15 plus 13 equals 28. And now in question 2, I know I need to subtract because the question says she eats 25. So eats means I need to subtract. So 28 minus 25. 8 minus 5 equals 8 minus 5 equals, I cannot answer the question in my head, so I am going to use my fingers to help me. 8, 9, wait, okay. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3. 8 minus 5 equals 3. And now, I know from what I have learned in the past that 2 minus 2 always equals 0. So, I do not need to write anything in the tens column. So, 28 minus 25 equals 3. So, the number of apples and peaches left is 3. In question 4, I had to find the answers to all these. Here, I am going to add the 2 hours Dizzy swam, the 3 hours he rode his bike, and the 2 hours and the other 2 hours he watched a movie for. I am going to add 3 numbers, but I think that will be easy. First, 3 plus 2 equals 5. I know this because I worked the answer out in my head. 3, 4, 5. And now 5 plus 2 equals 7. I also know this because I worked it out in my head. 5, 6, 7. So the answer is 7. Now that is step 1. Now in step 2, I am going to subtract the 10 hours Dizzy slept and the 7 hours he did the activities. So I can't subtract, so in the ones column, I can't subtract this, so I will need to borrow a 1 from the tens column. Now there is only one 10 here, so there are 0 tens left. So the 0 will be 10. So 10 minus 7 is, well, I don't think I'll be able to subtract it in my head, so I'm going to use my fingers to help. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3. The answer is 3. Also, now I realized that I could also have counted from 7 to 10. 7, 8, 9, 10. And the answer is also 3. So 10 minus 7 equals 3. And in the tens column, 0 minus this invisible 0 is 0. Is still 0, so I do not have to write anything in the tens column. So 10 minus 7 equals 3. So 3 hours were left in the day. "13 plus 6 equals 19. First, I started with the ones column. 3 plus 6. I used my fact families to help me work this out. Fact families are 3 numbers that always go together. For example, 3 plus 6 equals 9, and 9 minus 6 equals 3. And in the tens column, 1 plus the invisible 0 still equals 1. I know this from what I have learned in the past. So 13 plus 6 equals 19. That was step 1. And now in step 2, 19, the number of hats Waldo has now, minus 9, the number of hats Waldo gave away. First I started with the ones column. 9 minus 9 equals 0, and I know this from what I have learned in the past. And then I moved on to the tens column. 1 minus the invisible 0 is still 1. I remember this from what I have learned in the past. So now, Waldo has 10 caps. First, I added how many hours Doc slept in a night and how many hours he napped. He slept 9 hours a night and napped for 2 hours. So 9 plus 2 equals 11. I worked this out in my head. 9, 10, 11. So I wrote a 1 in the ones column and then another 1 in the tens column. That was step 1, to find out how many hours he slept in one day. And now, in step 2, I know that there are 7 days in a week. So, 11, the number of hours Doc sleeps every afternoon, times 7, the number of days in a week, equals 77. I know this because I know my 11 times tables, and I know what 11 sevens are, 77. So 77 hours is the number of hours Doc sleeps in 1 week. First, I added 18 plus 12. First, I started with the ones column. 8 plus 2 equals 10. So I wrote a 0 in the ones column and a 1 in the tens column. Then, in the tens column, I added up all the tens. So 3 tens equals 30. So I wrote a 3 in the tens column. That was step 1. And now in step 2, I divided 30, the number of beads there are, divided by 3, the number of bracelets Ruby made. I know I need to divide because of the words share and equally. Share equally. One strategy I could use is this strategy. What times 3 equals 30? I know the answer is 10 because I already know my 10 times tables. 3 tens are 13. So the number of beads on each bracelet is 10. So that is my skill for today. In numeracy, in two-step problem solving, at first I thought it would be too hard for me to do, but it was actually really easy and I enjoyed it. It was really easy, and also I think I did each page in quite a quick time. I am very proud of myself.